Hey guys, welcome to the Nexus Summit. My name is Binoj Jacob, and I'm joined by Alisha Thomas here. And hi, Alisha, how are you?
Good, Binoj. How are you?
I'm doing good. So as you guys can see, this year's Nexus Summit is completely virtual. So what that means is that we can dress up but also wear basketball shorts at the same time. And let me tell you, it is an amazing feeling. This year's Nexus Summit is all about resilience. And no matter what industry you're in, this year we've had to be resilient to just get through this year. So this portion of the conference is called Chai and Chat, where me and Alisha will be talking about the arts and how to get into the industry. And hopefully the goal here is to influence others to join the arts within our community. So Alisha, I know both of our stories are published on the Nexus Instagram page, but I figured we might as well, try to give a paraphrase story version again for both of us and for anyone
Yeah.
that is listening now. So you go ahead and chat, and I'll drink some chai.
Okay, nice. Oh, I don't have chai with me. I have like this, my substitute for chai, which is this thing called samahan with like a bunch of spices in it. Anyway.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's great though. It's great. They should actually pay me to like promote their product. Regardless. So yeah, in a nutshell, my story is basically my love for music and singing started as a toddler. And then that led me to Indian classical Carnatic singing lessons when I was 5. And then that continued as a hobby. So I sang as a hobby all the way through college. And then that landed me a job on the creative team at a mega church, actually, in Chicago. And then I ended up quitting that job after 2 years because I wanted to find a job that would be less demanding and give me more time for my music. So long story short, I ended up giving up on the traditional job route because that wasn't going to work out. And I made the decision to move to India and just pursue my dream of singing for films full time. And now it's been over 6 years of me being based in India as a full-time performing and recording artist and playback singer. So I'm just super grateful for the journey.
Oh, nice, nice. That's a great journey. So for me, I spent most of my life not knowing what I was good at. I failed in just about every Indian stereotypical thing that you could think of. This was probably up until like 22, 23. And then after that, my friends advised me, why don't I try to make a career out of my personality? And I never thought that wasn't even an option. So at 23 is when I started interning at a morning show. And what I would do is that I intern at the morning show, sleep in my car, then intern at an afternoon show. And I did this 3 times a week. And the other days I worked at like a yogurt store to like pay for gas to get to the internship. And I did this internship for a whole year for free. And then after that, then I got a job, and that was in 2013. And this was in Miami, by the way. I totally forgot to say where I'm from. But yeah, yeah, from 2013 to 2015, I did this when I was in South Florida. And what I realized in that time is that Miami was like a number 11 market in the country, but the top 2 markets were like LA and New York. And I realized that I also had to take a leap of faith in order to land into a bigger market. So I kind of had this really honest conversation with my parents, with my coworkers, saying that I believed in my personality. I'm gonna go take that leap of faith. So 2015 is when I landed in LA without a job, without a car, without family. I just started from scratch, and I hustled and struggled for like 2 years. Come 2017, there was a full-time opportunity in country music, and I never listened to it. I mean, look at me, I don't listen to country music, right? So I had this full-time opportunity in country music, and they hired me. And I asked them, like, why would you hire someone that looks like me who never listened to your genre? And the response was that, well, we believe in your personality. And that was my full circle moment at that time, because I took this leap to believe in my personality. Now it finally paid off.
Right.
So that was in 2017, and I've been doing this for the past 3 years. Every year has been normal. This year for both of us has not been normal at all. So especially in the entertainment industry for a lot of people.
Hmm.
So transitioning into that is, how has this year been for you? How have you adjusted, and what is the new normal like for you during this pandemic that we've been having?
Yeah. So, I mean, my year has been crazy, as has everyone's. You know, we've all been going through it, but uh, I do want to look at, I do want to recognize that I don't see 2020 as being like this terrible year. I feel like I've grown a lot.
Yeah.
But basically, I'll just tell you about how it kind of started. So I was in Chennai. So I'm based in Chennai, India, which is the southeast part of India. It's like northeast of Kerala for people who don't know. Um, and so I was in Chennai as usual in February, and news of COVID had like just started to spread. So it wasn't as big of a deal at that time, but it had potential to get worse and obviously impact India at some point. So I had planned a short little trip home to Maryland. That's where I'm from. That's where I grew up. In the middle of the month, and I ended up getting stuck because the India borders were shut in the first week of March. So I couldn't. I had no way of getting back. So I basically spent the first 6 months of the pandemic at my parents' house, and I had to figure out how to make ends meet from there because I'm used to just gigging every month and like session recordings, and none of that was happening because the whole world was kind of at a standstill. So it was really difficult at first, but I eventually like pulled myself together. I created a little home studio set up for all my like virtual recording and performing needs, and started teaching voice lessons even virtually as well, which was new for me. But something I really enjoy doing as well. And then in September, travel restrictions were like kind of lifted enough for me to get back to my apartment here that I'd been renting out and I had abandoned because of all of this. So I've been back in Chennai now for a couple months, back to my solo, introverted, peaceful life again. Love my parents, but I love my alone time
Yeah.
a lot as
Yeah.
well. And the new reality is that I've still been just doing all my work from home, which I'm really grateful for. So even though it's really drastically different than what I'm used to, than what all of us are used to, and we miss the freedoms that we used to have, but I think I'm doing okay, to be honest. I'm just making little sacrifices, and I think it's really not the worst if this is just temporary. That's how I see it. So
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. I'm
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and working from home has become a norm. I mean, I didn't
Yeah.
think it was possible to work from home because I work in radio, so I feel like I've always felt like you had to go into the studio to do your show and things like that. I didn't even think something like technology would help us work from home. But
Yeah.
like around March is when they told us we can't go into the studio anymore, and all of a sudden I have a processor here, I have a mic here, and all of a sudden I'm working from home and the studio was brought to me.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of this year I've definitely been, I mean, I for all of us this year we've been grateful about things. And for me, I've definitely been grateful for technology. And like it's crazy. Just some people are not grateful for like the social media side of it because that can it can go a lot of different ways. But one reason I'm thankful for technology is for sure is the fact that I have a mic at home and I can still be a part of a show and just be able to carry on and adjust to the point where it's like now I don't even know if we'll even go back to the studio. I'd be so weirded out if I was going back to the studio at
Same
this rate.
here.
you
Same here.
know? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, so this year for both of us, like we said, it's been crazy, it's been different, and both of us have been involved in the industry for a bit. So one question that I ask a lot of people is that did you always know, because your raw talent is singing, so is that something that you knew from a young age, or is that something you developed over time?
Right. So for me, it's a little of both, I would say, because I did start singing at the same time I started speaking, like as a toddler.
Mm.
And I started training and performing like from when I was 5 years old. So there's no doubt that like my skills have developed over these years, and every experience, like primarily my vocal training, has attributed to the development. Indian music was my focus, even though of course like I listened to and dabbled in a lot of different genres, even country. Actually, I love country music, by the way. So I'm one of those grown people who loves country and not ashamed of it. Yeah, Keith Urban all the way, you know.
Yeah.
So because I was singing in different languages, I wasn't fluent in, like in the Indian scene, like Hindi or Tamil or Malayalam. Even I started out doing a lot of like imitation work, because I kind of had to just listen to a track and mimic what I heard. And that was sufficient for when I was performing as a hobby, you know, throughout my teens especially. But when I started this career full time a few years ago, I had to come to terms with like finding my own voice, because imitation just does not cut it after a certain point. Like you can't really make a living off of that. And I realized I had to be true to myself. And a lot of that comes from just discovering your own voice. So that development was huge for me. And I'm still developing in different ways today, because I'm still learning. And as a teacher, I'm learning. As a singer, you got to do a lot more than just singing too, despite what people may think. I don't just get up in the morning and just sing a few notes and then go to sleep. Like I do a lot of my own administrative work, correspondence, negotiating, networking. I mean, I've become my own recording engineer now because of all this, you know.
Oh, look at you, just an all-in-one person.
You got no choice sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Like I would really love to not be the one, you know, the one-man band here, but sometimes you just got to do it. So
yeah, no, for me, I definitely, I mean, like I shared before, I had no idea what I was going to do most of my life, you know. So till I was like 22, 23, it was more like what I can't do, until I realized what I could do. And it was honestly, it was after I got into radio is when I developed my personality, because I wasn't as extroverted as you needed to be to work in entertainment. I was definitely more shy. But the more I practiced on my voice is when I was where I discovered my voice, if that makes sense. You know, because when you just keep practicing over and over and over again, it just becomes a habit and you build those habits, you know. So yeah, I mean, for me, I think it was something that I definitely developed along the way. And yeah, so I think for you, after that, after it developed along the way, you got into internships, you got into jobs, and things like that. And this was stability, right? This was right before you took that leap of faith in moving into India, right? But there was definitely a moment for you where you must have been like, okay, I'm not meant to do this. Like in the stability, whether it be the church or whatever, you had that moment where like, okay, I'm meant to do something bigger than this. How was that moment like for you? Like what made you conclude that before the leap?
Right. So yeah, I started interning in college. I actually had like paid internships at the World Bank and the Department of the Interior, both in DC. And I was bored out of my mind during both experiences. Like I should have been, I mean, I am grateful for the experiences, but I was really bored. It was not my thing. I would literally just get the work done and then play games on my phone until the day was over, you know? And I told myself that I never want to do this kind of a desk job in my life ever again. And beyond that, I was majoring in IT, business administration. So, and I barely passed. Like it was such a struggle. I remember thinking like, what kind of a life is this going to lead to? Like, I'm doing this because my parents want me to, but what am I going to do with this? You know? And I feel like I was made for more. And then my Chicago job was awesome, but it also helped me realize that I'm a creative, you know, and that I thrive on new and fresh experiences and I can't do the same old routine every day. And then, you know, there was actually a point where we had a team meeting, like our weekly check-in. And the question for all of us on the team to reflect on and share about was, if we could quit our jobs today and do anything else in the world, no matter like how ridiculous or random, what would it be? And my answer was I think I'd move to India and maybe try to start a singing career there. And of course, I had no intentions of like doing that at the time because I didn't even think it was possible. I wouldn't have even known how to begin, but that was definitely the start of me realizing like there has to be more. So, I mean, what was it like for you? Like, I mean, you say you didn't have like, this was something that you had to kind of figure out along the way, but like, what was that moment for you? Like where you were just like, no, I can't.
Yeah, no, it was back at work in Miami when just checking in and out, doing like the same thing over and over again. What inspired that leap of faith to go to Los Angeles was having that honest conversation with my coworkers and asking them like, would you do anything different? And all of them said they would take bigger leaps into bigger markets and see what would happen. And they kind of I was kind of pushed by my coworkers to take a leap while having the job that I had. So yeah, and what helped me take that leap was just realizing, okay, cool, like would you rather like fail but go forward, or would you rather stand still and succeed? And to me, it's like I'm always going to wonder about the next step, so I decided to take that next step.
Yeah.
So
totally.
yeah, so for you, when you leave to India, like what was it like when you landed there? How was it? Because I know for you, a big highlight for your career has been when you got involved in Frozen, right? So
definitely.
yes. So what was like leading all up to that? Like what led to that moment? How was that like? And what was those highlights of your career? How has it been so far?
To be honest, it's hard for me to put into words because it wasn't like this step-by-step process that I think maybe that was what I was expecting it to be. Like, okay, you do this, then you do that, then you meet this person, and then this happens, and then, it just kind of like leads to whatever. It really wasn't that. I just think I was kind of at the right place at the right time. So it started with, my debut in the industry, in the Tamil film industry, which was literally within the first year of me being in India. And that was, again, not something I planned on because I didn't even think I was going to be here beyond a year. But yeah, that pretty much catapulted me forward because that debut song somehow is the biggest thing. I think the biggest thing that I'm ever going to do in my life, even beyond Frozen. And I really think it's going to be like on my tombstone or something, like my gravestone. Like, I don't know. It's literally, it follows me everywhere. There are tons of billions of views on it. I don't know. I ended up just being the one that they called, and I'm reaping the benefits. I'm really grateful for that. But yeah, like that's pretty much essentially what kind of led me forward. I got to meet A.R. Rahman through another, connection, which again, never thought would happen, but I do a lot of work with him. And a lot of other musicians that I like just idolized throughout my life. And, pretty much it's just about, for me, it's been about staying consistent, just being a hard worker, being dependable, kind of just, being at the right place at the right time. And then you got to just hope for the best. But there are really some tough moments where we have like a lot of months, some months of the year that are not that busy. And so you're just kind of like, okay, well, I guess I'll do my own stuff, and you kind of wonder, like I've had really low moments before where I didn't have a whole lot in the, in my wallet or in my bank account. And I was like, how am I going to make it? I don't know. And then somehow like, like you kind of just have to keep the faith. It sounds so cliche, but you got to keep the faith. You got to really believe in what you're doing. And really something else will come along. Like I can't explain it. So I really think it's about like, you got to be in this for the right reasons, and you really have to be willing to work at it. And then things will really fall together. Like,
being about being in the right moment at the right time is definitely something that I can relate to. Like I've had a few, a handful of highlight moments, whether it be meeting people, whether it be networking with people, and just like shaking hands, whether it be listening, speaking to people that like listen to me. And it's kind of weird sometimes because it's just like Yeah, I'm an actual person. And you actually know me. You know, so
Yeah.
yeah, and I think it's just about definitely appreciating like the low moments as well, because when you realize how low you got, like you're appreciative of how far you've
Mm-hmm.
come along, right? Like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
when you realize how much you struggled, like the success will never make you I don't know how to word it. Like it'll never be too high for you.
You're
You know,
right. You're
you'll
right.
always
Yeah,
just be even killed because you know how far you've come. You know,
definitely.
and I think that's been highlights for both of us in our
Mm-hmm.
industries. And the last question I have before we officially like wrap up is like
Yeah.
Nexus is obviously it's not just for people of our age that are in present in their careers. We also have a whole generation of people that are coming up that want to get into careers and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. This whole
Mm-hmm.
conversation is about influencing people within our community to possibly join the arts. So what would be
Yeah.
your advice to people that are up and coming and maybe them taking a leap of faith to join the arts as well?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, oh, there's so much. But I would say, especially as Indian Americans, and like, with immigrant parents, I think it's really important to keep them in mind and have a little bit of grace, like give them a lot of grace, because they're not used to this new age, like they just cannot with it, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if you give them that grace and you really try to like work with them and ultimately make them see that what you're doing is really like giving you joy, and you find purpose in it, and it's something that will like sustain you, you can like actually make a living off of it. I think that's when they come around. So that's a huge piece of advice for me. And also just, the standard of like, don't try to take shortcuts, embrace the whole journey, every up, every down. It's going to be rough. It's not pretty all the time. It is really not. But like, again, just have faith in yourself, be really hardworking, because if you work hard, you can do anything. And at the end of the day, you can do it. You can figure out a way to do it on your own, even. Like, I mean, you obviously need people around you, but you can figure out ways to be self-sufficient. So I would say those are my key pieces of advice.
Yeah, and that's definitely great pieces of advice. I mean, for me, would just be like find whatever your raw talent is, and maybe it's something you've always had. For me, I was always extroverted in my family. I never thought I'd make a career out of it, to be
Mm-hmm,
honest. But
mm-hmm.
find whatever where
Same
your
here.
raw talent is, and
Yeah,
just chase after it. Like
yeah,
chase after it, because honestly, life is way too short for you not to chase after
totally.
your whatever your passions is, whatever your purpose is, doesn't matter what industry you're in. Chase
Mm-hmm.
that dream and make
Yeah,
sure like you're just give it your all with it. Everything happens
definitely.
for a reason, and hopefully it all works out. So
Yeah,
with this conversation, I hope both me and Alicia have impacted you to possibly join the arts. We hope that we're able to shed some light about it. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to like slide into Nexus's DMs or our DMs.
yeah.
We probably won't be able to meet you because this year we've been quarantining the entire year. So thank you so much to Nexus for giving us this platform. And thank you so much, Alicia, for joining me. And yeah, thank you so much, guys, for listening. We appreciate it.